Boys to Men Mentoring, take one.
Joe,
Yeah.
Mr. Sigurdson, thank you for taking the time today to sit down and talk with me about such an amazing foundation. So I have done a little research on your company. I'm a member of the teams. I'm a newbie with the 100 Wave Challenge,
Right.
but I don't know a lot about the history, and I would love to hear the story today. And if you don't mind just relaxing with us and sharing your story, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Boys to Men.
Okay. Well, I had some exceptional parents, my three sisters and my brother and I were raised in an environment where, to those who are given much, much is expected. That was kind of, and my parents were activists, and they got us involved in community projects. And my mom fought against school segregation.
Oh, wow.
And this is in the 60s, and she was all about integration and doing that. And my father, my mom and dad met. They were both juvenile probation officers.
Oh, interesting.
In the 40s. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then they came down to San Diego in the early 50s, and my dad ran the Boys and Girls Aid Society, which was a residential foster care facility. And then he got his degree in criminal justice administration and sociology, and he got a job up at USC, and we moved from San Diego to Inglewood.
Wow.
And I grew up in Inglewood in the 60s, during the civil rights, during the Vietnam War.
It's a busy street.
And USC was there was a lot of activism going on, and our parents would take us to anti-Vietnam War rallies and to civil rights rallies at Exhibition Park. And I remember listening to a very young Jesse Jackson and Joan Baez and
Oh, wow.
Tom Hayden so they were very,
The
very
real
active.
deal.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad spent his whole life doing prison reform. Okay, and so during the 60s, during the Johnson administration, he wrote a lot of grants, and he ran a lot of diversionary programs in Torrance, Santa Monica, Inglewood, Crenshaw district to keep kids out of trouble, and then in 1973, there was a Pulitzer Prize winning expose done on Father Flanigan's Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska. Are you familiar with that institution? Okay,
Yes.
So this is a big Catholic institution, been around for 75 years at that point. And there was a bunch of corruption and nepotism and abuse going on, and so they did a nationwide search to bring somebody to transform that institution. And they hired my dad, and we moved to Omaha. I was 16. I just got my license, and I'm moving from LA to Omaha, Nebraska. So, yeah. Anyway, so he ran Boys Town, and so. He's a pretty amazing guy, and then he spent the rest of his life, he had a management training company, and he transformed probation departments,
Okay.
and he came up with this formula called CRMT, which is Community Resource Management Teams, and it was a very action-based approach to probation. Instead of just go, hey, you keeping your nose clean, and you buy somebody a cup of coffee, slap them on the back, and send them back out.
Right.
The way that he had this organized, it was really about rehabilitation and finding the resources in the community to make sure that these guys on probation had as many opportunities to be successful as possible. So that's how I was raised.
The history. Okay.
So those were my parents, and also, I fell in love with my older sister's best friend. And she is 4 years older than me, and
Okay.
I was 18, and she was 23
Okay.
with a 2-year-old.
Wow.
And I've known my wife Nancy since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, and then over a Christmas vacation, when we were together, we fell in love. And I married her, and I adopted Erica, and I went from boy to man very early.
You sure did. Well, now, what year span was this?
This would have been 1976.
Okay.
I moved from we were in Boulder, Colorado. I moved out back to San Diego, and Nana and I got married and adopted Erica, and I went to work in the man's world. I got a union job
Oh, wow.
out in Santee, California, veneer graphics, you know?
Yeah.
And I was by far the youngest guy on the shift, you know?
For real.
Like by 10 or 15 years, you know, so I was 19, I just turned 19, and I got this job, and it allowed, you know, it allowed me to make a union wage and have medical and dental, you know, I had benefits for my family, I got time and a half and double time for 8 hours and Saturdays and Sundays and all that.
Amazing.
So for me it was, you know, but I was geared, you know, my parents, they just stressed education, you know, and before I fell in love with Nan, you know, my career path was to become a juvenile, go to school, become a juvenile probation officer, and then a public defender.
Okay.
So that was my goal, and then I fell in love with Nan, and that kind of changed
the
changed my
blessed
program.
side steps. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting. So you're 18, you're fresh, you had a baby with a 23-year-old young woman, and bam, you're a man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I adopted a baby. Yeah.
Got it. And adopted a baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so I'm working swing shift. I'm working nights, 4 to 12:30. Nan's teaching preschool during the day, and Erica's a baby, and Erica's going to preschool with Nan, and you know, I wanted to fit in with these older guys, and they all drank, and so I started drinking.
Oh, wow.
You know, so we
and
we
that's
had
the man thing to do
our
after
lunch
a union job
at
sometimes,
the union
right?
job, man. You know, and we took lunch from 8 to 8:30.
Wow.
You know, so so you know.
Get it. Okay.
You know, and then, so what happened was, I started drinking, and, you know, and I became kind of alcohol dependent. I became alcohol, not kind of, I was alcohol dependent. And then I had moved on from alcohol to weed, and then from weed to cocaine and crystal meth. And in short order, I spun out of control. You know, and I became an alcoholic, I was dealing dope, I was a collection agent for a cocaine dealer,
Wow.
I became a nefarious kind of criminal, and I was committing felonies every day, and everything was a secret because I worked from 4 to 12:30, so I had this secret life going on.
Right.
Then I'd get my act together on the weekends. Well,
and what's interesting is your parents came from the world and
Yeah.
worked in the world that you were running in.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
did the dichotomous.
It was a paradox. I was
Sure
a paradox. I was a paradox because while I was doing that, I was also on the La Mesa Citizens Committee for the 5-year plan. So I was a part of the La Mesa City Citizens Review for the 5-year plan for the city of La Mesa. So I'm working with the mayor and the city council, and then I'll go to work, and then I'll run a couple of pounds up to LA, and then I'll come, you know, and so I was all over the place. I was, you know, I was doing civic stuff, and then I'd get my act together on the weekend and be a dad and a husband, and, you know, try to slow down my role a little bit, and then, anyway. But it got to the point where I couldn't control it, and I got completely out of control, and so at 28 I ended up at the doorsteps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And
Finally.
So I got to a
Amen
place
to
of
that.
surrender, you know. And there were men there that didn't care about my backstory. They didn't care, they didn't want to hear it, they just wanted to know, what are you going to do to clean up your mess, and how are you going to move yourself forward, you know?
Awesome.
And we suggest you do these steps. So I had these wonderful, caring men that were meeting me right where I was, not projecting or judging me, listening to me, accepting me, encouraging me, supporting me, and holding me accountable.
Excellent.
Well, so I really learned how to be a man, you know, how to take responsibility for my life, how to take responsibility for my mistakes, how to clean up my mess, how to make amends, you know, how to turn my will and my life over to, you know, the care of God, you know, you know, a series of surrenders, you know, the paradox of you know, by becoming powerless, I'm empowered, you know, by surrendering, I'm victorious over the drink, you know, so I learned a lot about, and then of course, you know, our primary purpose is to help the alcoholic who still suffers. So I sponsored a lot of men, I worked with a lot of men and helped other guys get sober, because you got to give away what was so freely given to you to me,
real. Exactly.
So and this was part of the culture. So I understood this intuitively because this is how I was raised, So like AA made sense to me,
Okay. Okay.
Service before self,
Isn't that the way to go? It's the only way that serves me. So
Yeah.
you came to this place. I'm hearing that you were being held accountable. You're doing your healing, and how many years? You came to this place. I'm hearing that you were being held accountable. You're doing your healing, and how many years span? And at what point did you get the vision for Boys to Men?
Okay, great. Okay, so at about 8 years, 8 years in AA, I was 36, and I did a men's retreat.
Okay.
And I did it with it was called the New Warrior Training Adventure Weekend.
Okay.
And it was framed as a rites of passage, as an initiation into manhood, and it was a way to look at what's working and what's not working in my life, and the process. And because I had done a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, step 4, and admitted to God, to myself and another human being, the exact nature of those wrongs.
Okay.
Step 5. So because I had done some groundwork, like the idea of confronting my shadows wasn't a foreign concept. So like when I went into this work, for me it was just a rocket ship to another level of honesty and integrity and accountability, which are principles that I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. So for me it was like, this is great. Could have used this information at 14, not almost 40, And so I was into this work, and my brother got into this work, and we brought my dad, who had been a facilitator and a trainer his whole life, and he came into this work, and he said, this is really what it's all about.
This is what it is.
This is really, men's work. This is really about taking, a deep look into our souls, and not only how we're affected, but how we affect others, and it really taught me some tools on how to be a more useful and a better friend and a better partner and a better husband and a better co-worker. Because now I'm thinking exponentially. It's not just all about me. It's about my actions have consequences.
It's a ripple effect,
exactly.
if you will. What I heard was, you wish you had known at 14 what you learned at 40.
Yeah.
And so now you've got this Boys to Men.
Yeah.
How was it structuring that?
Okay. Yeah. So here's what happened. So we were in a board meeting of the New Warrior community, and one of the guys, some member had sent in an article that then Governor Pete Wilson, this was in 1996.
Okay, 1996 now.
1996, Pete Wilson was allocating like X million dollars to have 200,000 mentors by the year 2000. And it was suggested that we as a community should start a mentoring program. And I told you a little about my dad.
Right.
I stood my dad up in that meeting. I said, Dad, you'd be perfect for this.
Oh, good.
And my dad said, anyone that's interested in doing this, let's meet at Joe's on Tuesday. And that following Tuesday, 8 men showed up at my house with my dad. And one of those guys was my friend Craig McLean, who is, the other co-founder of Boys to Men. And we just started knocking around ideas of like, okay, what do we do? What does a mentoring program look like? And we talked about coaching a little league team, or sponsoring a little league team, or sponsoring a Boy Scout troop, or doing a computer lab, or an after-school tutoring center, or something like that. And I said, all these things already exist. Why don't we do what we are uniquely qualified to do as initiated men?
Wow.
Let's initiate them. And then we spent the next 2 years researching and writing and creating a 21st century experience, rites of passage weekend for boys.
Okay.
And
a retreat for boys.
A retreat for boys.
Okay.
And we met with family therapists, and we met with psychologists, and there was a guy on the committee Daniel Harris, who was writing his master's thesis in anthropology, and he made this document, this rites of passage document, his master's thesis. And so we are, creating all these processes and stuff and writing everything up. So then we think, okay, we got something here,
Okay.
And not only did we have like the weekend written and organized, but we also did a training for the mentors, that, meeting with family therapists, and they gave us, like, this was in the 90s, so we didn't get a PowerPoint presentation because they weren't creative, but we got 96 overhead slide projectors, okay?
Okay, I got it.
And it's all very, very heady stuff. There was the Johari's window, Myers-Briggs,
Oh, yeah.
the listening wheel, all these academic tools that we're going to teach, we're going to show men how to, and so we went, okay, let's get some guys together, let's run through this material. And so the first thing we thought we needed to do is train the mentors, so we did, and I'm telling you, we did 2 8-hour sessions, and for me, I got ADD, I don't know if you can tell, but sure.
I look, where?
I think we all got it.
I was going nuts trying to sit through this, And so Craig and I made up one process at the end. And when the guys came back from a break, we wadded up a piece of paper and said, hey, put this somewhere you can feel it. Put it in the nape of your neck, put it in your waistband, put it in your shoe, put it in your pocket, but know it's there. So we're going through all this clinical stuff, and we're going through all this academic stuff, and then, people, like the guys that created it, the guys that we hired to put these overhead projectors that are teaching it to us, and at the end, we said, okay, pull out that piece of paper, and everybody reached in, found the paper, unwinded.
Oh, wow.
On it said, my teenage wound.
Oh, wow.
And then the men shared about what happened to them as teenage boys. How were they wounded?
Interesting.
And that was by far the most powerful aspect of the training.
Absolutely.
And then, and that kind of got things real, so.
So the 14-year-old of the 1990s and the 14-year-old of 2021,
Oof.
is there a difference?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what is that difference, and how is Boys to Men serving or bridging that gap now?
Yeah. Well, none of the kids had cell phones
Right.
in 1996.
Okay, they didn't have the exposure.
They didn't,
Yeah,
if you had a cell
right.
phone, you were a businessman or something,
Right.
like they
Good point. Mhm.
And so, I remember, when we would do an orientation for the weekend to get the boys bought in,
Mhm.
we would take them to the stadium.
Jack Murphy?
Jack Murphy.
All right.
And I'd get the boys sitting in the stadium. The parents would be with Craig. He'd be doing the enrollment. He'd be doing the
Okay.
paper. I'd say, look around, fellas. This is a place where men live out their boyhood dreams. They race trucks, they race motocross, they play football, they play baseball right here. Rock stars come through here. Guys that their childhood dreams come true in places like this.
Interesting.
Feel the energy of this space and all the dreams that came true right inside this room.
Great.
We're going on a weekend, and whatever you imagine your life to be, this weekend can be a starting point to get you on the path to get what you want out of your life.
Oh.
How does that sound? Tell me what your dreams are. Okay,
Yeah,
do you know what it's going to take to get there?
Right, exactly.
What if this weekend you could get a clear path? About
How
that?
empowering.
Yeah.
Mm.
So then there came a point, maybe early 2000s,
Okay.
when flip phones, kids had flip phones. And you were clicking through, you had to hit the button 3 times to get to C,
The 3
and
is
they
the
would give
E.
you- and I can remember we were doing an orientation, and it seemed like everybody's world was reduced to this like 1.5 by 1.5 screen, and there was already little games on it, and there was, you could texting was just coming of age. I remember asking, how does that sound? And is there anybody that doesn't want to do this weekend? I'm like, nobody would put their hand up. They'd all go, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And we started having guys going, no, I'm not doing this.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that the technology was creating more isolation and more disconnection, and they didn't even know how to conceive of like spending 3 days in the wilderness, or going on an adventure, like, why would I go on an adventure? I have everything right here in this 1.5-inch screen, And then as the screens got bigger and the color got brighter and the graphics got more detailed, the isolation, the disconnect. So,
Interesting.
but here's what's universal is our humanity, and I think the pain of divorce in the
Still
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, that doesn't change.
Great point.
So I think that, and in that, if there's no way to process those feelings, if there's no way to give a voice to what's happening internally and what it feels like, it just gets internalized.
Right.
And then when it gets internalized, it comes out sideways. Instead of being clear, when it comes out sideways, it can show up as cutting, or drug abuse, or drinking, or stealing, or anything, so I don't have to feel this pain.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Quick side question. Was cutting going on in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, or is that more apparent now?
that's a great question, I don't know. But I know that it has been a part of our history since the beginning, so
Okay.
it definitely was going on in the 90s.
Okay, definitely in the 90s. So
Yeah.
since you've been inception.
Yeah,
Okay, so in the 90s. But I wonder if it goes back that far.
I'm sure it does.
Sure it does. I mean,
Yeah,
pain is
because all it is
self-inflicted,
it's-
self-inflicting pain.
It's,
to-
and it's like, if I can create this pain for myself, I won't have to feel what's really going on,
Right. Yeah.
And it's almost a comfort.
Narrows it in. Yeah, gotcha.
So like the pain of divorce and loss, grief,
Sure.
I think that transcends, the screens.
Yes.
Anything that gets us into our humanity,
Mm-hmm.
the human experience,
Yes.
and that's really what the weekend is geared to do.
Got it. And that is once a year, this retreat?
No,
now?
we do like 4 or 5 a year.
Oh, 4 or 5 now. Okay, so
Yeah.
describe
And that's really what the weekend is geared to do.
Got it. And that is once a year, this retreat?
No,
now?
we do like 4 or 5 a year.
Oh, 4 or 5 now. Okay, so
Yeah.
describe to us, what is the Boys to Men programming like? And then
Okay,
let's
yeah.
lead into that
Good.
100-wave challenge.
Yeah, so we're an in-school group mentoring program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we used to do the experiential weekend and then try to build the community off of a shared experience.
Okay.
But what happened was we had that, but everybody was finding us through the internet, and mostly single moms looking for help for their teenage boys.
Sure.
So we had kids in Chula Vista and Vista, and we had kids in Point Loma and Lakeside. And for us, logistically, to get the mentors and the boys together every couple of weeks on a Saturday to spend 3 hours together, it was, for me and for Craig, kind of spearheading this, making sure the kids got picked up and got taken home. It was a 6 or 7 hour day, and we could drive 150 miles picking them up and getting them home.
Wow.
And logistically, it just became too much. So we thought, in 2008, we decided to flip the program, and we wanted to create the communities demographically. And we did that by going into the schools and building the communities in the individual schools, and then taking that group of kids up for a rites of passage weekend after they have done their groundwork in the circles.
Excellent.
And then when they come back, they continue to integrate those lessons with each other. And not only once a week during group, but they're seeing each other every day.
That's fantastic.
So we kind of create a tribe inside the school.
And
the
they
Boys to Men
need
tribe.
that
Yeah,
right on
man.
campus. I mean, and the fact that the school embraced your programming is so commendable.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
real, because it's so needed. I was a volunteer as a big sister.
Yeah.
So I get the all girls need and
Yeah.
being a big sister to someone.
Yeah.
So I was really taken in awe by the Boys to Men program when I first saw you guys in action.
Yeah.
And your action that I witnessed was at the beach,
Yeah.
doing the waves, and
Yeah.
wow, what a rite of passage to do that.
Well,
Describe
yeah.
that. I mean,
You know, and that's
real.
that's fun. That's our summer activity.
Mhm.
You know, but and which is wonderful, and it builds trust, and it builds community, and it, you know the
That's
joy
just
that
one
comes from
aspect.
those victories. You know, like the joy that they get to share with the men that are pushing them into the waves or working with them, and then with each other. You know, facing their fears, going through those barriers. You know, that's all that experiential learning that goes on when we're facilitating these kinds of events. But in the school circles, okay, and we just found the right guy at the right school that said, this is exactly what this school needs. And conceptually he understood, the idea of the sacred masculine, of a rites of passage, of initiation. He understood that those were important elements of being a good man. You needed to understand, those dynamics so that you can integrate them and apply them in your life. So when I described to him who we were and what we did, he said, this is exactly what this school needs. When can you start?
Right. Can I ask what school this was?
Yeah, it was Spring Valley Middle. Now it's Spring Valley Academy. And this was in 2008, and it was Bruce Crenshaw, who's now on our board of directors for Boys to Men.
Oh,
that
cool.
that opened that door and got us in. And we've never done any marketing. We've done no advertising for this program. Every school that comes on board, it's all been word of mouth.
That is fantastic.
And we started in one school, and by the end of that first year, we were in 3 schools. And then the next year, we were in 6. And then, anyway, before COVID, we were in 36 schools. We were running 68 circles a week.
Wow.
We had a staff of 14. We had 125 volunteers. We had 850 boys enrolled countywide. We had another 300 boys that weren't officially enrolled, but we never say no. If you want to come in, sit down. Let's hear what's going on.
Let's do it.
So this in-school group mentoring process, the way it works is we introduce these real-world issues: divorce, death, alcoholism, gangs, abuse, betrayal, and the men share authentically to set the bar and create the liminal space and the safety in the circle where they're exchanging experiences, and they'll talk about what happened to them. And when the boys hear the men being honest and authentic, they feel safe enough. We open it up to the boys start talking about what's happened to them.
That's great.
Yeah, and when they start talking about what's happened and how they felt, and then the choices they made, the price they paid for those choices, and it's like, dude, is this what you want?
Right.
And we help them identify what they really want, and when they can identify what they want, you say, well, what do you have to do different? And what's one thing you can do different this week? And when they make those new choices, our job is to give them support and accountability around those choices. Now, I'll give you an example. Like a lot of these guys know that they're little assholes to their mom, and they don't feel good about it. They don't want to be jerks, but they're angry. They got all this unresolved anger and grief, and they're walking around and they're pissed off, and like mom is safe dumping ground for transference of all this anger to mom. Give it all to mom, because she'll never leave me, right? And so, but they know that that's not fair, and they're starting to identify what happened to them. They're starting to connect the dots. I would like a better relationship with my mom. Okay, what are you willing to do different? instead of being a jerk to her when she comes home, I'm gonna ask her how her day was. Okay, great. When are you gonna do that? I'm gonna do that tomorrow or today. Okay, great. We're gonna give you some support on that, okay? So who wants to support Joel in this new choice?
Interesting.
I got you, Joel. Hey, today's Tuesday. I'm gonna text you on Thursday to see if you're checking in with your mom. Okay, great. So we set up that support. So Thursday rolls around.
Interesting.
Hey, Joel, have you checked in with your mom? Ah, no, man, thanks. I'll do that tonight. Or, yeah, okay, great. So then the following week, we do a check-in and we do a round of accountability. Joel, you said you wanted a better relationship with your mom. You said you were gonna ask her how her day went. Did you do that? Yes, great, tell us how that worked. Did you do that? No, great, tell us how that worked. We suspend judgment.
Nice.
We just keep meeting the boys right where they are. What kind of man you wanna be this week, Joel?
Wow.
And then when he makes a new choice, all right, who's gonna support him in this choice? And so our volunteer mentors are awesome. So we have our paid facilitators
Right.
that understand the group dynamics, that are the liaison for the administrators, for the boys, for the parents. That's
Gotcha.
not a volunteer commercial or volunteer job.
Position.
We have people for that. But then our volunteer mentors, we train them and we teach them listening skills, empathy skills. And we talk about what it is just to hold space.
Yes.
Just and to honor and to praise these guys. When they take a risk and they tell us something like that, say, man, good for you. That took a lot of courage.
Right.
Really honor your courage and your willingness. Good job, buddy. And anyway, so the volunteer mentors are there to offer the support and then the accountability. So week by week they're getting rid of their secrets, and they're making new choices, and they're getting support and accountability around those choices. And what happens is they start feeling better, and when they feel better, they do better. We don't do any tutoring, but we know that their grades come up. 1.25 grades, their attendance comes up, but the biggest thing we see is their discipline issues go away. Like they get reduced like 85, 90%. Like they got this weekly release valve where they can dump their stuff, be validated for their feelings,
Right.
honored for their courage, thanked, and say, what kind of man you want to be this week?
I love that.
So I mean, it's not rocket science.
Right.
Yeah. We're empowering them, we're raising their self-worth, their self-esteem, they're actually raising it. We're just there holding the space, giving them the opportunity. Because one thing we never do is we never tell them what to do. We just tell them what we've done.
That's important.
And that's, for me, that's really where my
Right.
AA thing comes in. AA, nobody told me what to do. They just shared their experience, strength, and hope, and suggested I do these steps. And then took me through them.
That's really important to
And-
have that safe acceptance of
Yeah.
where it is, because where
Yeah.
people are, that's very rare these days.
Yeah.
Where among peers, each other,
Yeah.
groups. So what a place to be and
Yeah.
to learn from. That sounds like you get a lot of work done with these guys and
They're
get them ready.
They're incredibly courageous,
Mhm.
and they're kind of like dying to get rid of this stuff,
Right.
And look, we don't do 12-step work. This is not a 12-step program by any means,
Right.
But it is an honest program,
Yeah.
and it is about making new choices, and creating a pathway to the man that you want to be.
Right.
And so when they've done this groundwork in the groups, and identified the beliefs, the blocks, the issues, the events of their lives that have, created some of the behaviors that are hurting them and everyone around them. And when we think they're ready, we take them up to the mountain to take a deep dive. In group,
Okay.
we've got like an hour and a half, and if you got 15 kids, everybody's got like 5 or 6 minutes to share. But we come up to the range, and now we've got an entire weekend designed to take a deep dive into those beliefs, those issues, those events, and the whole weekend is designed to help the boys connect the dots back to from the behaviors that they're exhibiting to the events in their lives that created the feelings that led to the beliefs they held about themselves, that manifested those behaviors. And when they can connect the dots back, they can see, oh, that's why I'm doing this. And now instead of it being a survival mechanism or a defense mechanism or just how am I going to get through the day, it becomes a choice.
Right.
And they can choose something different. And so when we help them connect the dots in their lives and take say, dude, this wasn't your fault. You didn't ask, you're just trying to survive this, man.
Yeah.
But now that you know, what do you want to do different? So the second part of the weekend's goal and objective is to create a roadmap to the man they want to be. And on that, and when they identify, the values that they want to live by, and the kind of man they want to be, and they've identified all the things that are in the way of it, and their commitment for moving through those things, and the action that supports that commitment, and all this gets scribed down. Now they've got a roadmap to the man they want to be, and we've got it. And now we go back into group, and we're going, hey, you said you were going to ask your mom to put you in touch with your dad. Have you done that?
Wow.
No. Well, I know how important it was to you. You've got a lot of questions for your dad. I know that the feelings that you have around this is that somehow this guy doesn't love you, and that you need to know. Wow. You need to know where you stand with him. So what's going on? Well, I don't want to upset my mom. Well, do you need support with that? Yeah. I said, well, what if you and I go in together and we sit down and talk to your mom, and we kind of let her know how important this is to you? Do you think that she'd be okay with it? I don't know. Well, are you willing to take a risk and find out?
Yeah. Wow, it's hitting me right in my warm, cozy spot. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
It's powerful stuff.
Very powerful
That's
stuff.
it. I mean, that's
because
one
you're
example.
carrying it from the mountain, bringing it home, and when they go back to group, they still got to be accountable to that integrated
They got to
thing.
integrate it,
That's what it's all about. I mean, I'm really feeling that. Really feeling that. I think adults need more of that right now.
Well, for sure. For sure they do. And what happens is, when one kid is doing his work, the kid next to him is going, that's happening in my house. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. They're not alone. They
identify with each other.
And they're like actually doing each other's work too.
Right.
And then they know that more needs to be done.
Right.
And the way we frame this and the way that we're able to stay in the schools with this, is that we take this very secular approach to this hugely spiritual, transformational experience, and for sure, when the synchronicity happens,
yes.
I'll stop whatever's going on and say, I feel that, guys. You see what Spirit's doing for us?
Yeah.
Can you feel the Spirit in the room?
Nice.
It's doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. So let's trust this right now, what's happening right now.
Wow.
And it's kind of spiritual kindergarten for these kids, and we don't really have an agenda for them, but what we do know is that they have a deeper connection to each other off these weekends. They've got a higher regard for Boys to Men as an organization. They have a deeper connection to their mentors who show up and take them through this process.
Yeah.
And once they go through this process, we have a ceremony.
Oh, nice.
On Saturday night, and they get one of these.
Oh.
They get a talisman, and they get marked. And they're marked as a journeyman. They're not men yet, but they're a journeyman, and they're on the journey to be the man they want to be. And so now as a journeyman, they earn the privilege of coming back up to the mountain and being on the staff. And they go from the student to the teacher, from the initiate to the initiator.
Wow.
And then they come back into circle, and they're in group, and they got their talisman out, and they go,
Leaders.
you went to the mountain? When's my trip? When do I get to go? And it kind of becomes like a badge of honor.
There you go.
And it's like, oh, you're a J-man now? Oh yeah, I'm a J-man. You're darn right.
That's
And
great.
J-Man is short for
Journeymen.
Yeah.
Sure, I got it.
And so, we get, the community is so generous to us, like the Sockers will dump, 20 tickets to a game,
Right.
Well, luckily, we've got a couple of, 15 passenger vans, and we can put together an event, and we invite the Journeymen to come to those. And so, you may be in Boys and Men, but you're not a Journeyman yet, so you don't get to go to the soccer game, because we can't take everybody.
But you'll do that one day.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
but yeah, so it's a kind of an incentive program to get to the mountain and take that deeper dive,
Yeah.
and learn more about yourself, and also learn more about how powerful you are,
Yeah.
and how you can, by being transparent, by being honest with yourself, by making choices from an authentic place, you can actually improve your emotional well-being, and as these experiences are going on, the social emotional learning that the kids, the peer-to-peer
Right.
learning that's going on, it's all well and good for, a 63-year-old guy to share his story about what happened to him in
Sure.
1971,
Right.
but when an 8th grader tells a 7th grader what happened to him, now we're talking.
Right.
Now we're
Sharing.
talking.
Yeah.
And when we can create
Close to
that
home.
safe and sacred place where those kinds of exchanges are going on.
Yeah. Joe, you have so much passion. You have so much drive in this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Mm.
And if it could fuel the engine, then
Yeah.
it's doing it for
Yeah.
real, right? If it could buy everything,
Yeah.
it would, right?
Yeah.
If it could, if it was
Yeah.
a tangible, if your passion was tangible,
Yeah.
everything would be covered, okay?
Right.
So let's
Thank
talk
you.
about resources.
Yeah,
You're welcome,
yeah,
and thank
yeah.
you, because
Yeah.
I have not been in a room of so much passion in a long time, and I'm truly inspired,
Oh,
because
far
I
out.
just, for real, this is just really, I'm just feeling this power and the love you have to see someone go through it, the deep spot, and I love that. So let's talk about resources. How do you get this engine revved up to do that? How do you pull from the community? How can I be of support to you?
Well, by far, our greatest resource for funding, for getting us into the schools, for providing those weekly circles, for giving these kids this transformational opportunity to become the men they want to be, is done by our surfing community.
Really?
And guys like Joel Wasserman and Admiral Awesome
That's right.
make it happen with the 100 Wave Challenge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we do. So
Talk about that.
Yeah.
How did this come to pass? And
Ah.
what a way to roll. What an idea. Everything.
All
How
right.
did this come to pass?
Okay, so it was Christmas Eve Day, 2009.
Okay. Good year.
Yeah, and I'm surfing with my son-in-law
Mhm.
at Reed Street in
Okay.
Mission Beach. And there was a little northwest swell running, about 3 to 5. There was a Santa Ana, so straight offshore, and the ocean was a machine.
Wow.
And we were out there freaking killing it. And, we were probably out for an hour and a half, and I came in, I said, dude, I must have caught 30 waves. He goes, yeah, easily, yeah, it was awesome. I said, and we're walking up the beach, I said, I wonder how long it would take to catch 100 waves.
Huh.
And, because like 30 seemed like doable, like maybe I could catch 100 waves. And then, Boys to Men, I mean, we've been around since 96, so
Right.
2009. I was like,
2009.
we're back, now we're in the schools. Like, I go, hey, I wonder if I caught 100 waves, if I could get people to pay me per wave,
Right.
And I went, wait a minute, I don't have to catch 100 waves. I'll get 100 guys to catch 100 waves. We'll call it the 100 Wave Challenge. And
Just
so,
like that.
so just like that happened in December of 2009. I started organizing like in February of 2010, which is really early because we did it in September, but what?
Wow.
Anyway,
you blew it. You blew it out.
I blew it out.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
awesome.
I got a lot of buy-in. I got a lot of guys excited. I've been
Wow.
surfing, I've been surfing since I was 10 years old. I know a lot of surfers and I'm also, I do this mankind work, we've got these Boys to Men guys, and I've been in AA for a lot of years, and I'm a Kiwanian,
Okay.
so I've got all these networks of guys, and so so I brought them all together,
Let's surf.
yeah, let's
Raise
do
money
this.
and surf.
And so we did that, so Boys, you know what, it was really cool too, because like I went to Bert Huffman, Bird Surf Shed, and said, hey man, we're gonna do this thing, and we're gonna have to give out prizes. Will you help me with the prizes? I go, I don't want you to give them to me, but can you get me at your cost? He goes, dude, I'll talk to the manufacturer. I'll get you manufacturer's cost.
That's great.
I said, that is awesome. And then I go to Joe Roper, because I've been taking my board to Joe for decades, and I said, Joe, we're doing this thing, and you know what looked cool is, because this was, you remember his old shop on Marina?
On Marina.
So he's got like this tiki bar. So
I remember
like that. A tiki bar, and he's got all this bamboo drop, and he had those big tiki figurines. So I like to take all this stuff and set it up on the beach, And then I was watching Craigslist, and I was grabbing free couches and recliners, and then I was storing them. I was storing all these free couches and stuff. And then I had a friend of mine that was a landscaper. I said, hey man, can you bring like some palm trees, some birds of paradise,
wow.
plumeria, bring a bunch of tropical plants, and so we go to do this 100-wave challenge, and so we set up on the beach. We set up like this funky
full-on party
thing, and Roper's giving us all this cool stuff to give it, character, and we've got all these junked out stuff, and then we've got plants and stuff all everywhere, and we're barbecuing, and we had like 50, 60 surfers,
Wow, your first year?
First
That's
year,
huge.
we raised like $70,000.
Unbelievable.
Like we'd never raised $70,000 doing anything, and it was way funner than a golf tournament, and way easier than a gala. No auction item, no begging people to buy. I was just like, you want to go surfing, and then you can, you get people to give you money. Send out an email. Susan G. Komen created the model, right?
Right. That's right. With the breast cancer thing.
Yeah. So everybody got their own landing page.
Teams and landing pages.
And this was in 2009. So people just said, dear family and friends, I'm doing this ridiculous thing for this wonderful cause. Please click on this link. Click on the link. Here comes Joel's picture. Here's Joel's story, why he supports Boys to Men. None of his family or friends know what Boys to Men is, and they don't even care. But they love Joel. Look what Joel's doing. God bless him. I'm going to throw $100 at him. So that's the 100-wave challenge in essence. We've got this. What you can go, you can register, you can create a link to your landing page. You send your landing page out to your family and friends. Let them know what you're up to, what you're doing, and. Each surfer it raises $1,000, so they get 10 people at $100
Okay.
to raise $1,000.
That's it. 10 people, $100.
And then we've got incentives. Like if you raise $3,000, you get a year's worth of coffee from the Flanigan, and we will literally ship you coffee of the month, a 1-pound bag of coffee of the month to your house every month for a year. You don't have to do anything except raise $3,000. You raise $5,000. You get a wetsuit from Birds.
Wow, that's worth it.
You pick out a wetsuit. If you raise $7,500, you get a board. You can go pick a board out at Birds.
You got it all lined up.
So we got some incentives for our big fundraisers like Joel and Admiral Awesome, and then we have the team prize. If you want to forego your personal prizes and work together as a team and raise $30,000. Then you can get the Eat, Sleep, and Surf weekend down in Las Gaviotas.
Oh, wow.
And Boys to Men, we've got a couple of vans, and we will provide transportation, we'll provide food, we'll provide beer, we will load up the boards, we'll take you down, we'll get a couple of really nice big houses down in Las Gaviotas. And your job is to eat, sleep, and surf, and we'll cook and clean for you all weekend.
But do they get to go deep? Can we go deep for a while?
We do a little depth work.
They gotta know what's going on.
Mostly what we do is we talk about the impact that they've had by doing this as a team.
Okay, that's
And we
deep.
do a lot of honoring but yeah, we bring the real stories, yeah. And then, but then we go to Charlie's and we sing karaoke.
That's
And
perfect.
get a picture of margaritas. So,
Fish tacos, Charlie's fish tacos.
oh my God, so good,
I love
right?
tacos.
Yeah, and so it's an easy thing to do.
Yes.
It's a fun thing to do. Because of COVID, we're doing individual teams. Like we used to have this huge event on the beach at Mission Beach, all the surfers all out on the same day, 500 people.
Okay.
We live music, radio stations broadcasting live, giving away prizes. We had a hydration station. We had 1,500 square feet of shade on the beach
Okay.
with a hydration station, nutrition station, yoga classes, massage therapists. You know. And then we had face painting for the kids. We had crafts for the kids. We had sandcastle building.
Wow.
You know, the whole day was geared for the families and for the surfers to be successful in catching their 100 waves. Well, that's not going to happen during COVID. So we had to pivot last year, and we created these smaller individual groups. And so we're encouraging people to build teams. And as a team, your crew, you pick your beach. We're going to Gator Beach because that's Joel
the beach.
and Admiral Awesome's home break. So, you know, we've done it at Cardiff, we've done it at Scripps, we've done it at OB, we've done it at Carlsbad State Beach, we've done it at Ponto, you know, whatever your local break is.
Okay.
You know, your crew, your beach, your date. We have a 2-month window from now until November 21st, where you can pick a date to go do it. Now we've had people do it on a Wednesday, you know, midweek, Saturday, Sunday, you know, whenever they're ready to do it. And what we do is, the Flanigan has come alongside us, and they're providing coffee and pastries.
Nice.
So you
The
get
day
fresh,
of. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
fresh coffee and pastry, and then Board and Brew has come alongside us, and they're willing to do lunch for us, sandwiches, and so you know the whole day, you know, and then we show up with our 10x10, and we've got swag, we've got T-shirts, we got rash guards, we got wax combs, right, Joel?
Yes.
Wax combs this year, wax, the sunscreen, you know, we swag everybody out, we give them some goodies. We circle everybody up before they paddle out. We do a little context of why we're there and what we're here to achieve. We engage the children so they have some sort of context of how fortunate they are to have a mom and a dad, and that not everybody gets this, you know, and what would your life look like without them, and you know what you're doing is you're helping kids that may not be as fortunate as you. So you're doing a noble thing by paddling out with your dad. So bless all you guys. Thank you guys for being here. And then I generally paddle out with the fellows and catch a few waves, and then throw some footballs and some frisbees, and then have a cup of coffee with the moms. And just create this like connection in this community, you know.
I was blessed to be able to witness it last year. Got me sold on it because I was there last year.
Were you at Gator Beach
I
last year?
was last year,
Yeah,
so I
that
witnessed
was
you
cool.
guys. That was fun. I
Yeah.
got a chance to see everything. I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to be part of this. I mean, I just was so moved, and
Yeah.
I loved to see the community of the team, the
Yeah.
families together.
And the
so encouraging.
and like really real stuff comes out of it because
Yeah.
Bill's nephew, you know, lost his dad, and it was
Right.
COVID, and he was up in Corona, but we were doing virtual groups, and we got that young man some assets, some support, some unconditional love, some empathy, some compassion,
Right.
and he was able to connect through the internet, through the virtual program, to get some support in what he was going through, what he was feeling. And you know, so I mean, it was like, I remember talking to Bill and his wife, and because it was Bill's wife's brother who had passed, and she was a mess, and Bill was a mess, and you know, this poor young man, and it's like whatever we can do to help, you know.
Right.
And I think we did help. I know we did.
I'm sure you
I know we
did
did help, you know.
For sure.
And now we're back into the in-person. I'd love to get that young man on a weekend to, you know, really be able to grieve the loss of his father and be honored and supported by a community to help him through that process, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely have made a huge impact on San Diego and the school districts with the kids and the community. So I don't see this changing I don't see this going anywhere anytime soon. But times are changing and evolving and
Yeah.
programs are changing. What do you see happening in the next 5 years?
Well, you know, I don't even know if it'll take that long because, you know,
Excellent.
because of COVID, because of the isolation, because of the disconnection, and the suffering that's going on with kids all over, you know, like, even, like, this year, we were approached by the district attorney's office.
Okay.
And they were identifying some high-risk neighborhoods, you know, and they were looking for ways of reducing violence and said, hey, could you come run a program in these 2 middle schools and this high school so we can start you know,
Joe,
addressing.
do you see the full circle with your dad? Because
Oh,
you
perfect,
being
yeah.
with the district attorney and almost that probationary programming,
yeah.
and then your dad doing what he did,
Yeah.
look at the Boys to Men coming full circle in that. That's
Yeah, no, it
amazing.
does not escape me at all.
Wow,
Yeah, of course I'm conscious
that's
of that.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing. I'm sure you are, but I'm like seeing
Yeah.
it, so, you
Well,
know,
thank you for
this
seeing
is
that. Yeah.
really full circle. This is a wholesome program. I mean,
Yeah.
for real, and I think it's hitting, and it's so needed. I'm inspired. I'm wondering if there's more for girls like this. I want to,
Yeah.
you know, that's a whole nother topic another day, but I am truly inspired by this program, and I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So it was important to me to be able to get it out there to tell people, and
Yeah.
I think you have so much to offer, and this is just the beginning in so many ways, because we are a post-COVID era now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're learning all these new, you know,
We are, and the need is probably greater now than ever,
right?
you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we had the DA's office approach us,
Yeah.
but we also had NCRC, the National Conflict Resolution Center.
Oh, wow.
You know, and these guys do like divorce mediation, and they also do, you know, sensitivity training, diversity training for big corporations, you know, but part of their role is in San Diego Unified, they do conflict resolution and restorative justice. Okay, so like if a perpetrator, you know, assaults, you know, the victim, they create a plan for those to you know, restore justice to that relationship, you know, and the perpetrator has to hear the victim's story about what happened to him as a result of this, and then the victim gets to hear the perpetrator's story as to what happened to him that he's behaving in this manner. Well, now they want us to be part of their restorative system.
Wow.
And so so instead of, it's like a diversionary program, so instead of the kid going to juvie for assault, you know, part of his restorative process is to spend, you know, like 10 weeks in Boys to Men, you know, to take a look at himself, you know.
Precisely.
Yeah, and then we've also been working with the San Diego County Office of Education, and we've got a proposal into them. They want us to do Boys to Men circles inside urban camp, which is juvenile hall with a minimum 90-day sentence to 2 years.
Got it.
So like the Kearney facility is very fluid, you know, week, 2 weeks. You know, if we were going there every week, we'd have a new audience every couple of weeks.
Okay.
So they want us in at urban camp so that we can create some stability, not only to work with the kids while they're incarcerated, but also to be able to, when they are released, be able to do outreach to them, get them to one of our open community groups, because we do the in-school group mentoring, but we also have evening groups, we call them open community groups, so that anybody from anywhere that needs a circle can get to us on a Tuesday night out here in Spring Valley, and then on a Thursday night up in Encinitas. And so, so here we got the district attorney's office looking for a preventative program.
Yes.
NCRC looking for an alternative sentencing program. And then we've got juvenile probation looking for a rehabilitation program. It's all the same program.
It's all the same.
And we got and we've got like 30 schools, and so the next 5 years, I could see Boys to Men integrating into, you know, the juvenile justice system,
Yes.
and also expand. Like you know, I know that like if there's any way we could get this to a $5 million a year program, we could be in every middle school and high school in San Diego County,
Yes, you could.
you know?
As an option.
And every young man in the county would have an opportunity, would have the resource, the asset available to them. And now whether they take it or not is on them.
ROTC, Boys to Men mentoring.
Right. Yeah, Boy Scouts, Boys to Men.
Right.
Band, Boys
Boys to Men.
Not
Right.
everybody is going to be in band. Not everybody's going to be
True.
in ROTC. Not everybody's going to join Boy Scouts. Not everybody's going to be in Boys to Men.
Right.
But you know, we're providing a safe place for the kids probably with the least amount of assets that probably need the kind of support and the kind of community and the kind of peer-to-peer mentoring that we're able to produce, and where they get to experience that emotional intelligence, that social emotional learning that's going to give them an emotional toolbox to take back out into the world, so that they know the difference between anger and fear and sadness. And they don't always have to come, you know, from their warrior. They know what it is to be a king or a lover or a magician. You know, we talk about the sacred masculine and integrating these sacred energies into behaviors, so that they don't always have to just be pissed off
Right.
all the time. You
Right.
know, because
the spectrums of emotions.
exactly,
Right.
you know, because like anger's a great mask for fear. Anger's a great mask for sadness.
Absolutely.
It's even a great mask for joy.
True.
Like sometimes it's not even cool to be happy, you know?
It's true.
So you gotta kind of like be cool about it, you know, so.
Right.
Anyway, so we give these boys an authentic opportunity to experience this, and not only experience it, but also, you know, get in touch with
Right.
what's behind it, yeah.
Joe, this has been amazing.
Okay.
If you could, as we close, what message do you just want to, if you were to just say anything, this is the legacy of Joe you want to leave behind,
Yeah.
what would you like us to know?
That it just does not happen in a vacuum. That we've got an incredible network of dedicated staff, dedicated volunteers, guys like Joel and Bill who, you know, I don't even get it.
Right.
Why are you giving me so much of your time? You know, why are you giving Boys to Men so much of your time? You know, like, but you know, I think the magic is the symbiotic relationship that happens. That, you know, it's the power of the giveaway, really.
Right.
You know, like the more we
I love
give,
it.
the more we receive. You know,
Exactly.
and Boys to Men is an excellent place to practice that power of the giveaway. You know, and you know, because like these guys aren't that different from who we were. You know.
Right.
And you know, we've got men in the program, you know, some of our mentors that maybe they abandoned their families.
Right.
Yeah, maybe they divorced, maybe their kids paid a price for the choices they made. This is their opportunity to kind of come full circle and pay back the universe a little bit of that.
And give
And get their
back.
own healing in the process, and maybe take another run at reestablishing those relationships, healing those relationships, you know? And they get the courage and the willingness, because the boys are so freaking inspirational, you know?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
if this kid can do this, I need to be doing this
Right.
in my life.
Oh, wow, that is so cool.
So there's a symbiosis there, so, but the one message is, this is not the Joe Show, this does not happen in a vacuum. That there are incredibly talented, gifted people giving their time and energy every day to make sure that this program is executed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. It's been an honor. It really has. And I
It's been
wish
my
you
pleasure.
many blessed years.